Hello, I'm Adam, and I'm here from Spain just to say hello. I've recently become a member of the Faircoop, and we were just really here to say hello and tell us a bit about what we do and see if you're interested in making a change.
Yeah. No, play that first.
Through local groups organizing themselves autonomously all around the world, we form a consensus-driven movement where we cooperate to build global tools and infrastructure, creating a fair economy. As a replacement for the flawed financial system of central banks and nation-states, we use a cryptocurrency that is ecological and social, the grassroots governed Faircoin.
We try to transform society toward time collaborate, tell them how our culture is centralized now.
That was nice and quick.
Yeah, so I have some of these Faircoin cards. But Faircoin is only one aspect of Faircoop, and we're not representatives of Faircoop here because it's a decentralized network that is run partly online as a coordination and partly in local nodes in different cities around the world, mostly in Europe. So we'll just talk to you a bit about what we know. We also have chat groups where we can ask everyone else. There's 500 members in that one chat group, so any question we can answer, we'll ask in there, and the crowd will answer for us. We just met earlier in person. Like in local nodes, people usually know each other very well, but online, it's a lot of online coordination, and every group within Faircoop has regular online assemblies that happens in a chat, and that's where decisions are made by consensus. So this organization or network is very recent and came out of Occupy Wall Street and the Occupy movements in different parts, especially in Catalonia. There was another group called the Integral Cooperative Catalan. That started there after Occupy, doing very similar things locally. And one of its initial members is this guy called Enrique, that the media calls modern day Robin Hood, because he went to some banks a few years ago in Spain and borrowed, I think, €250,000. And a bit later, when it was time to pay, he told the banks, well, I actually don't have money to pay you back. And so he's sort of on the run now, and that's why after he had to leave Catalonia, and so that's why he started doing this, setting up this network online, because that's the only place he can operate.
And I think the base concept of it is we all seem to understand that the world is pretty much not right, and that we want to change it. But we need something to change it to. We need something there in place for us to be able to move over and affect that change. And it's great sort of burning everything down, but you know, if we don't have anything to replace it, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people who can't do anything. So one of the things I really like with Faircoop is that rather than focusing primarily on the actual currency, in the case of Bitcoin or Faircoin, the focus seems very much more on the creation of the ecosystem and how we put in place the tools that we need to be able to function in an economy, in a future post-capitalist economy. And I think very many groups around the world are going at it in different ways. And I think they're going at it from their own specific viewpoint. In my case, I'm living in southern Spain. So I'm quite a rural area, so I'm looking at working with other local people who are permaculture based or have got land. So we work cooperatively together, we start harvesting food, we start bottling food, we start jarring food, and then we start distributing it at the local markets. And we believe that by working that cooperative principle, we can create another economy that's separate from all of this stuff that we see around here in London.
Yeah. Did you have the screen on? We ran a poll in the Lumio of the conference. I don't know if you all were in there, asking what people wanted to talk about, because there's many different aspects and projects within this ecosystem. But I think we want to be more flexible than that. I don't know if you all participated, so what do you want to hear about? Can you go to the projects page? Oh yeah, or that. Like, what are your burning questions, if this is the first time you hear about Faircoop, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, maybe if you could exemplify even through your own experience how it practically works. Because I've been hearing about it a lot for a few years, but I don't understand how does the local co-op in Spain make use of Faircoop? How does that relationship work? What does it add to just working cooperatively at the local level?
And yeah, so because, as I said in the previous workshop, I'm a developer and I'm in this constant fight of wanting to do this kind of work and still surviving, so I was offered Faircoop for some development work, and so I said, why not? And that's how, now that I have Faircoop, it's like, well, what can I do with it, and how is it governed, can I be a part of that, and where is it headed longer term? So in my example, I live in Athens, Greece, and I'm able to get coffee, like coffee beans, from the Zapatistas that is imported, buying it with Faircoop, and I'm able to get fresh veg every once in a while, that's olive oil, things like that.
So would you say that the currency is what binds the ecosystem?
I guess the currency is what started it, but the currency doesn't want to be centralized in the way that it's governed. So that's why there's a huge focus on creating these local nodes that govern themselves, and then there are networks for the other ones, so it's a federated approach.
So is Faircoop a secondary part of the local nodes? So are they the members of Faircoop?
So Faircoop is, I've heard it called, I don't remember what word, but basically a new generation of co-ops. Like platform co-ops are a new generation compared to traditional co-ops. Faircoop is as well, and one aspect of that is that it's not really a legal co-op, and it's not necessarily organized in a legal fashion, right? It's a loose collection of members and participants, and also of projects that some of them might have a legal existence, but at the project level or at the local level.
So I could join as me or as an organisation that I'm involved with?
Yeah, that's what I've done myself. I've just bought a share in a sister project of Faircoop called Freedom Co-op. It's freedomcoop.eu. So I've got one share in that as myself, but my project now is going to buy another 2 shares as a collective. So we'll then become a collective under the umbrella of the cooperative. It seems to be Enric's interesting way of playing around with this sort of economic system. So I can't find this tab.
Just go on the website and
I suppose the way I heard your first question is about like a lived experience. So what does it mean for you to be part of this co-op? Can you tell us a story of now you're part of it? What's the difference about your life?
All right, I'm part of it, but I'm also part of many other things. So I think some participants in Faircoop, like in many other organizations, attach their identity to the to the group, to the thing they join. My personal approach is to see it more loosely and to see it as a tool to meet some of my needs. And I would like to, over time, meet more of my needs through it. Faircoop also, because it created Faircoin, which is run by an assembly, but it does have the capability, for example, to pay people for work using Faircoin, right? So it sort of has, by going through the blockchain route, it has sort of solved the issue of many alternative organizations of how do you have sustainable voluntary work. So obviously we'll see over the years if that continues, but so far the value of Faircoin has gone up a lot compared to the beginning, and so people who are able to work for it, you know, some people do development, some people do just admin kind of work, or, you know, making sure the local node is running, recruiting producers or people who can provide things for Faircoin to actually add real value to the network and make it usable.
More questions? So at the back.
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying, you know, I'm completely in agreement with your values and your principles. I think Faircoop is really good on that. I like the way that you've developed an ecosystem. You can't just have a coin and it sits there. It's not going to help anybody. So you've developed all of that. I think the development of proof of cooperation is an absolutely crucial bit if we're going to use blockchain type coins. The rest of it is just going to die because it can't grow. So I think there's lots of really great things. And I'm working on, well, I've been working on something similar, but I came up with some conclusions which, when I explored Faircoin, made me fear that there might be a fundamental flaw. There might be a fundamental flaw in the Faircoop system that could bring it down if that's not addressed. And it goes something like this. To begin with, there was a wonderful quixotic gesture of giving away, I think it was 50 million Faircoins out to the world, really first come, first served, but not too much each, spread it around. So suddenly you've got a lot of coins out there, what can you buy with them? Now if you've got too much money and not enough goods and services, inflation is the net result. So that's potential, and that's not fully being addressed. I've heard, and it sounds to me extremely sad, that Faircoin is trying to buy back its Faircoins that have got out into the wild to keep them, because fair enough, you want to control the value of them. If they're out on a market, so this is another point, if they're out on an exchange market as a commodity, which a number of Faircoin owners have decided to do, and since the proof of cooperation, the value started to rocket up in the market, that means that you've lost control of the value, and therefore it's not stable. And if you've got a value that's rocketing up and down, how does anybody trade with it? Do you put up your prices up and down every day? Who knows what the real value is? You don't. What's it if I bought it? Shall I wait till next week before I buy it because it might be cheaper then? You know, you've identified the need for stability in the coin, but it seems to me you don't have the mechanisms for it. You tried to peg it to the euro, 25 cents originally. Ah, but it's gone up, so we'll peg it something more like €1 now. Some things I've read is that that's a great advantage to us. No, it's not. You've lost control and you're trying to get it back. So how do you keep it stable? You've got, it seems to me, and I don't see a link, you've got fair market, that's really good. But the release of Faircoins has to be pegged to the release of goods and services on fair market. There's very few goods and services, last time I looked a while ago, on the fair market, and there's lots of coins. So it's still inflation bound, it seems to me. I mean, you might say to all the operators, please don't put your prices up just because people have got lots of coins and it's fair trade for them. But keep it down. So, but all I'm saying is then, how do you address the balancing of the release of Faircoins with the goods and services in your market? How do you stop it being traded? And I think unless those two are addressed, I could see people pumping and dumping. They're starting to do it already, pumping and dumping the coins. And if you do that enough, it will break your system. That's my fear, and I really hope there's a way of overcoming it.
For me, I'm not here to talk about Faircoin, but the Faircoin ecosystem, because I think that's where the real value is in any project. It's the people in it. And yeah, my opinion is that Faircoin is a very imperfect solution. I prefer mutual credit type systems, but we've had those for decades, time banks as well, and they haven't really gone anywhere. Me personally, I've joined several of these and haven't really gotten value out of it in terms of meeting my needs, whereas Faircoin has done that partially. So I think we're in a transitionary period and we need transitionary tools, as long as we keep in mind what direction we're headed in. So first of all, maybe some of you don't know some of these projects, so we can give a brief description of them, and then you can decide what you want to go more in depth.
So I think the local nodes we briefly referred to as sort of the key points within the local area to start a transition as a fair cooperative. And you know, there's lots of these around, from big major urban city areas, I think, you know, Faircoop London, to small little tiny nodes which are just starting up, and I think there's lots of them appearing all over the world at the moment. Freedom Co-op I briefly mentioned before. That's a project specifically focused at self-employed or people who are in business wanting to produce invoices and operate in business, but without the tie to a specific parent country, for example. So Freedom Co-op, I believe, is registered in Liechtenstein, which has got one of the lowest tax ratings in Europe, so that's really good reason to vote there. Yeah, Faircoin, certainly, as mentioned, that's an ongoing project. But I think, like Nathan was saying earlier, all of this is an ongoing project. None of this is written in stone, none of this is set there, and it's down to the people that actually want to make the change to get involved and make the change. And certainly, you know, that's how we've met today. You know, we've both been working in an online format, and we had the opportunity to put together a meet and put an idea together, and look at all you lovely people turned up. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to introduce the open cooperative ecosystem, because it's at the top of the list, and I'm personally involved with that. That's a group, a team that is kind of on the edge of Faircoop, because it's also participating with other groups, like the Mutual Aid Network in the US, and also with Matthew here, who has been working on mutual credit for a long time. And so we're trying to, we're mostly techies and trying to create technology and especially protocols and standards that we all can implement in our free software to interconnect the networks basically, and not need to all use the same platform. We can all use our own platforms, we can use our own software within them, but still be able to interconnect in terms of communicating, collaborating, discovering offers and needs, and then later doing exchanges.
Yeah, thanks. Just both a comment and I'll come to a question. So first of all, just to applaud you guys for what you're doing. This is my first time to hear about it. And what you're doing is, as you already said, it's an experiment with flaws and all, and I'm glad you pointed those out to inform the rest of us. There's the point, the comment I want to frame this in is a book, and I'm going to be mentioning this whenever I raise a question. I think it's called Donut Economics by a lady called Kay Rayworth, who I think everybody here should read. She frames this whole push around commons and cooperatives in a bigger picture of just breaking the economy back to its pieces and building it up again. And she talks about 4 key aspects, and I just wanted to focus my question on that. One is the role of the state, one is the role of the market, one is the role of the household, and one is the role of the commons. And this is clearly in the common space, but the challenge we all have is to try to make this less threatening to the state, less of a fight, if you like, with the market, so that this isn't an either or, but how to appeal to the people, to the households, to get involved in this. And I just wondered what your experience was with trying to engage either people from the state, governments, other market players, or people in the household, because this is revolutionary to all of those people. And we need to make sure that they understand what advantages this brings. But it means that's not easy to do, I think.
Yeah, so Faircoop doesn't engage with the state. It goes against its principles. It does to a certain extent, like you mentioned, Freedom Co-op in Liechtenstein. So it uses techniques that large corporations use as well to be able to play with the state and get its needs met. But it doesn't want to enter into any partnerships with state actors. But with households, definitely, and I mean, that's my experience in Greece with the economic crisis now that has been going on for many years. A lot of people have come, to the end of their rope in terms of even solidarity within families or within friendship groups, and people need to find solidarity elsewhere with strangers, which isn't necessarily part of the culture. And so this is where these communities and these tools like Faircoop come in to give people a way to survive at a minimum level when there's no other help.
I'd say, going to your question about the household, particularly, there's a project that's in development at the moment called Common Roots, which unfortunately has been described as an open source Uber. So, for example, if you've got a car and you drive somewhere, put it up on Common Roots. There's an app that's been developed that's currently for Android and I think for iOS as well, I'm not sure. iOS. But yeah, certainly the Android app is, I think it's certainly available on the website. If you go to the wiki.fair.coop, and then, I mean, again, this open cooperative ecosystem is immense. I mean, one of the things I loved from the Occupy movement was something that came out at the end of the initial statement from Occupy Wall Street, where they said, to any groups that are interested in cooperation, we will give them our full support and documentation. And that's something that I think, above all else, that I've seen in the open source community, and particularly within the cooperative community. Faircoop have done that in spades. I mean, you can go onto the OCE, onto the wiki site, onto the one I'm looking at the moment is a red line, so it's sort of looking at how you put all this together into database management and things like that. So again, going back to your household thing, it's like you can put all this together. You can figure out exactly what your costs are, what you pay out to all these private corporations and companies, and how you can look at meeting these costs in a different way. And if we each do that, I think the currency is irrelevant. The agreement to do something is a currency.
Ollie actually said it in his intro this morning that we're going to talk about money, but we're going to try and avoid making it about money, but talk about signals. That's really what money is. And I was just talking earlier with somebody about it, and I realized, because what I'm going to talk about after lunch on the main stage is about using standards and protocols to empower sort of networks of networks. People earlier presented some networks of co-ops and how they're creating platforms and software for several co-ops. I think we need to go one step further and network those networks using standard protocols. And I just had this realization that money, fiat money, is actually the protocol for capitalism. Right? Like, that's how it works so well, is that there is a signal, there is a means of cooperation that is built in, and that as long as you have money or you're a for-profit business, you can go to any other business and say, I want this, and they'll make it for you, right? Or I have this to provide, and you only negotiate the amount of it, but it's always a yes, right? It's always, yes, we can cooperate as long as you have the right amount of money. And what we're trying to do here is sort of replace that signal with something better, and probably we're going to have to go through many stages to get there.
An income from a job. And so one of the things we're going to have to develop over the next decade is different ways of having a secure livelihood, some of which will be very familiar. Having a job, cash comes in to your bank account every month. Some of which will be very unfamiliar to us now, but these are experiments in that direction. We have 7 minutes left. I wonder if people have questions. I mean, the way this session is framed is about the ecosystem that's around Faircoop. I wonder if there are questions about that ecosystem, about what's currently missing, what's currently being developed that's most important. Perhaps something about, for you, what's the challenges, but also what's the benefits of being part of Faircoop?
I would say certainly from my perspective as somebody relatively new to the project, and somebody who has been quite supportive of privacy and security, the use, and I think it was something that was mentioned earlier in the start, was the use of proprietary software. I see that more than the currency as being a stumbling block. I see that as being the loose bit that could actually break it. Because if we're building our building blocks for the new generation on something that we know is proprietarily screwed, then everything from it could potentially also be screwed. And I think developing more open source collaboration on communication, security, cloud storage, and that sort of interoperability of working, that to me is something that we need to be developing a lot more.
Some hands went up the back. So I was just following. Sorry, I'm just wondering, can I go for somebody who's not spoken yet?
So it seems to me like you're working on like what I think of as one of the holy grails that a bunch of people in the space are working on, which is like how to create an open organization where people are participating and following through and building stuff without having jobs and all the entanglements of a kind of industrial corporation or organization. But at the same time, checking in with Faircoop services over the years, I've seen a lot of the symptoms that are common to other projects doing this, like, you know, logging into Bank of the Commons and everything crashing, and just kind of basic, like, things that are semi-functional. And I just wonder how you're thinking about the questions of accountability and follow-through and product development in a way that will make these tools more usable. Are there strategies that you're developing as you organize yourselves that will help participants be accountable in the development process so that the projects get completed in user-facing fashion?
I wish I had a good answer to that. I would like the solution to that for other projects as well. So I don't know. Can you ask online if anybody has an answer? Maybe one of those 500 people has figured it out.
And you said at the start, you'll hear as people who are part of the landscapes management representatives, so we will not have full answers. Do you have any last questions?
Yes, so just to follow on to the points earlier on, just a question as to, talk about money and, you know, maybe it's a bit of a necessary evil, well, it's a proxy for value, as we know, so it's for exchange and so on. If the question earlier on was how do you get Faircoin into the hands of the household, has any small town, small state council or whatever been approached to consider the concept of what's called a universal basic income based on Faircoin in a village or a town anywhere, to just try that out? Because that's where these things really take off, you know, getting some buy-in from a state actor to try using this approach to change the whole dynamic of the economy. Has anybody tried that yet?
I would, certainly, one of the origins I've noticed for development of Faircoop was very much the Catalan Integral Cooperativa. And I think that would be a point I would go and look at, you know, and look around that sort of region, particularly into Barcelona and areas like that, because I think you will see that happening. What I suspect you won't see happening is the mainstream media promoting it. You know, I think there's lots of examples of people collaborating on local levels with a local currency. And I think one of the previous people here before was Lex, you know, I mean, one of the earliest sort of interchanging currency systems. So, yeah, I think we're always there. And I think one of the things with Faircoop that gets me is the lack of a hierarchical system. And with every other sort of type of currency I'm looking at, and particularly like, you know, speculative currencies where the values are going up and down so much because people want to get money out of it. They're very pyramidal. You know, you can see at least some form of structure there. Where with this, I think we've got a lot more working groups, we've got a lot more sort of local nodes, you've got people that are self-working and sharing and cooperating. You know, and I think that's what you start to see now being rolled out in the ecosystem development. And I think once we can get that working nicely, then the other things will just start fitting in. Same way that, you know, Linus wrote a bit of code and suddenly, that went with that and, wow, we've got an ecosystem.
So, just as my concluding question then, as participants in the ecosystem around Faircoop, what's the value you can get just into this one line? What's the value to the participants?
Personally, I would say, other than the economic aspect, why I'm really continuing with this and participating, or at least observing a lot of the projects, is a learning experience. Because yes, there are many things that don't work, but it's very interesting to learn what doesn't work and why, and how often it's like human issues that we need to find ways to work through, you know, that are beyond the scope, but like NPC, nonviolent communication, those kind of tools, or sociocracy, like, why are those things needed? Because even when we all have similar principles and values and goals, it's difficult to make things work day to day. Because this isn't like for a lot of the participants in Faircoop, for me less so, but for a lot of people this is something they're doing every day in some form or another, right? So it's a very active thing. It's like having a job and being in the office every day, and so things happen. And it's very interesting to see how those are sorted and how we can find better ways.
And just the value to you being part of the in one line.
I think same as the Soul of Occupy, it's people power. It's people coming together and actually affecting the change that they want to see in the world, not just waving a banner and trying to make the change happen.
Very well, as someone who knew nothing about Faircoop an hour ago, I suppose I admire the determination to what there's a German poet called Rilke that talks about the need to live the question as part of creating and discovering the future. So very much admiring the effort and imagination that goes into making it happen. So thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for our session.